Thank you for your time in viewing these videos in order to prepare for your students to receive an iPad that they will be using both at home and school. One of the tools that we'll be using to communicate with families is Twitter. We have a Twitter page for Harris Elementary, and you can find us at our Twitter handle, which is HarrisCSD83. During session one, three things that were covered was an overview of the grant that we're participating in, a brief summary of how we were selected, and questions that families may have had. The grant that we received is often referred to as DP-VILS, which comes from the two companies that are partnering to work with us, which is Digital Promise and Verizon. Right now we're going to go ahead and watch a short video that explains a little more about this opportunity. So as you see here, they do have a website, and so we are a VILS school, so Verizon Innovative Learning School, that's directed by Digital Promise. Here's a brief video of another school in the nation that is also a DP-VILS school.
This may become a very great tool for the family and the aspect of them talking, the aspects of them interacting with each other more so than, did you do your homework? Yeah. Did you have homework? No, we didn't have homework. Where the tablets allow the parent to go on, check homework, check if they've turned it in, leave messages for teachers.
So it'll be a lot easier for them to get the parents, even the ones that can't make it up here, but by looking at that tablet and looking at grades and looking at attendance, they can be in contact with the teachers and be virtually involved in their kids' education throughout the day and what's going on with them.
I think the tablet is another tool to family time, getting the family together and discussing the child's education.
It creates a harmony and people want to learn. Like, I have an 8-year-old brother and he's not super enthusiastic about learning, but he wants to learn. I help him focus more and I can search things up for him. Even if our parents are busy, I can just go and grab my tablet and look something up for him and help him with that. And also, I have a 5-year-old brother as well, and I like to help him with math on the tablet and stuff, and it helps him understand the stuff a lot more if he does it on technology instead of writing it down since he's only 5.
The biggest improvement is just taking this home. Like, I had students last year, I would download parts on SoundCloud. So all the kids who had a phone would download it and they'd play it for everybody. But then I had 75% of my kids who didn't have phones, didn't have internet access, that were left out. So to have every student be able to go home and practice songs for the concert, that's amazing to me. Because our kids don't usually get what everybody else gets, and now they have more, so that makes me happy.
When it comes to like teenagers and electronics, it sort of gets them more engaged. So like the electronic process, so it helps. There's like more learning with it, and when you put it and you can hear it like the audio of it, then you know more like, okay, that sounds good.
It's a great new opportunity to have this kind of accessibility for kids. I knew that it would just extend my learning for my students in terms of being able to start with the learning that I'm providing them in class, but then extend it even further when they got home. And so, that was the exciting part for me. But it did scare me because of all of the reasons that teachers are always scared of change. Having something new to manage and having this new component. But I ultimately, once the tablets were in the kids' hands, I just said, I trust you. I want you to be successful. Here is our learning. Nothing has changed about how we're learning. I expect you to be focused. I expect you to be on task. And I've had almost no issue with kids because they recognize, oh, okay, this is the same learning environment. Now we just have this great new tool.
I've had students email me. I've probably had like hundreds of emails in the last 3 weeks since we had the rollout. But students that wrote more to me than they've ever said to me. When you have a lot of students, it's just hard to talk to all of them. And so that was really special, just to get paragraphs of information from these students who are too shy or don't want to stay after class to talk to me. And I love that.
So I think in the long run, we're going to look back on this and say, why didn't we do this earlier?
So through the Digital Promise Verizon grant, we're referred to as a VILS school. We are one of 46 schools in the country, so it is quite an honor to be participating in this program that, as you can see from the video, has the potential to be life-changing for our students, specifically in anything that they have a desire to learn in. So at this point, we really just want to talk about why. Why was it that we were chosen? Why is it that a program like this exists? So the quote that you're seeing here comes straight from Digital Promise Verizon's handbook. And in here is their rationale on why this exists. So there are many underserved students in the country who are not able to identify a future different from the one they see. The VILS program helps these students learn in an environment that gives them the tools and opportunities to envision a brighter future and a skill set to be successful there. As a technology company, Verizon sees the opportunities that will exist in the STEM fields in the future. We are also see the opportunity for all students to think like engineers, to solve problems using creativity, collaboration, and perseverance. So this statement here is one of their driving statements, and I'm going to show you some statistics that kind of back even more so why this shift is necessary and is a great opportunity for Harris to be participating in. The following slides that you see are different statistics from a company called Change the Equation, who has done some research on STEM-based careers and minorities. So as you can see here, 2 years ago, more than 20,000 minority high schoolers with the potential to succeed on an advanced placement STEM exam never took one. Now, if your child is a minority student, this directly affects them. If your child is not, we live in a population that is heavily minorities, so they may be attending high schools that are not providing these opportunities for all students at the high school. Here's just another example of unequal opportunities in computing. I put this little graphic here of Science Club because before coming to Harris, I worked a couple years in the district office, but prior to that, I was a teacher at John F. Long, which is a school in the Cartwright School District. And I had a student who was at that point a sophomore at Maryville High School, and he wanted to pursue a degree in chemical engineering. And he came to me and discussed how he wanted to start a science club at the elementary school because he had went to his counselor at Maryville and he was asking for certain science classes that were recommended for him to attend. And he was told that those classes are not offered at Maryville because there isn't a high enough interest in those classes. So he decided that he wanted that he wasn't okay with that. And he wanted to do something so that future students would not go through what he was going through and trying to prepare for the career he was choosing. The good news is he is currently at ASU and pursuing that chemical engineering degree. And opportunities similar to the one that we're participating in will help our students show in the high schools the need for different classes and just those opportunities that they need open in order to be successful in areas that they could and should be successful in. Another statistic here is that less than a third versus more than half. So it says only 23% of schools with the highest percentage of minority students offered calculus. Compare this to high schools with the lowest Black and Hispanic students enrollment, of which 55% offered the course. So again, just saying that schools that serve populations similar to ours don't even give our students the opportunity to participate in these higher advanced courses. Just another little statistic here. Engineering itself is really problem solving, and roughly we have a deficit of 570,000 untapped minority talent. Now, this is critical because those engineers are solving world problems, and as we know, all brains are interesting and think differently. And so, by not having this group represented, we're not solving problems that could potentially be solved by these students. Another area that is often underserved is females. So, in specifically in something like computer science, there's about 1.8 million more computer scientists if all these women were to be participating. So, through that, one of the things that you may hear in regards to technology is that one of the things that we will be attempting to do with this grant is bridging the digital divide with anytime access. So, not only will your students have access to the iPad and Wi Fi at school, but Verizon generously is giving them 5 gigs of data monthly. So they will have that anytime access to look up things or, provide their own goals of things that they want to learn and their own interests. So 3 ways that we potentially could close that digital learning gap is one of the things I mentioned is having always available access. So we will be teaching our students how to be using these tools in a powerful way. Another area is through digital literacy and responsibility. Do all of our learners know how to use them? So digital literacy is really a big part of this generation. They need to be able to read from a book, read from a magazine, read from a newspaper, but now they need to learn how to read from a website and also be responsible as they're representing themselves on the internet or just using the internet, how they use it responsibly. And another area is we're going to be focusing our use in a powerful way. So, are we leveraging them to create powerful learning environments? So, as we think about closing that digital learning divide, we can consider these 3 questions. So, how will classrooms change? How will students' home lives change? And just what are other important considerations during this shift? So a question you may be asking yourself is when? When is all this happening? So we are asking that you go ahead and save the date for Saturday, October 29th from 9 to 1. So that will be rollout day. It is definitely a celebration. On that day, since you are watching this video, at the end of this video, you'll have the opportunity to fill out the paperwork. So on that day, you will save yourself some time by being prepared with what is called a fast pass, and it will show that all your paperwork is done and your student will be able to pick up their iPad and participate in the stations and booth that we'll have available that day. One of the other areas that this grant provides is great opportunities for the students. Not only do they get to, obviously use the iPad for leveraging learning anytime, but there's a big push for them to be a part of the decisions that we're making and a part of the process. So one way that we're going to do that is through having student tech teams. And one student tech team, I'm about to show you a video of an example of another school that's also a DPville school and just how it is that they're, some of the things that their student tech team is doing. You may also want to notice that this video is from Rolling Out. So it's that rollout celebration that we will have October 29th will look similar to this one here that took place in Vista, California.
me tell you what's going on today.
We're giving out iPads, and as you can see, we have a lot of people, and there's going to be different names at different times. So it's going to slow down so they go back up again.
The parents are gonna line up and they're gonna fill out all the paperwork to get their iPads, like their insurance and agreements and stuff. And then while they're waiting, the kids and stuff, they can test the iPads. And then after they're finished, they can come outside and vote for the mascot.
And then after that, after you do that, you can go outside and look at the help desk, which is out there. And with the help desk, they'll help you how to update the software.
And right there where it says serial number, that's the number you guys are going to show.
The kids in yellow are Associated Student Body, and we're also known as ASB. And we're helping people get to know the iPads and the feel of how to do them and all that.
And we just kind of walk around and see if anybody needs help.
For us to roll out the iPads to do it just as a staff would have been exciting, but to include the kids that it's actually meant for changes the meaning. It becomes more personal. From hearing about the iPads, talking about the iPads, now they are organizing the iPads, helping the other kids get these things together. Being part of the process gives them ownership.
It's great. I love it. And we work on PTA as well, so we work alongside these children on the daily when we have activities. So it's great to see them helping everyone else out.
Adults out there, use students more.
Well, I just came back from a soccer game. We lost, but I scored twice. I scored a goal and I got an iPad, which is awesome.
I have a child in special ed that has had much growth with the computer use, and I've seen him blossom. And to see kids that are in regular ed, this is important. I think that will help connect them to the future of what they're learning. So, and I'm excited to see it work.
Now with the iPad, we could take school anywhere and stuff. It's gonna be easier because usually we had to use it at school, but now we can use it at home, school, wherever we could do our work and do research.
I'm really excited because it's so much easier to do our work and to have something that we can play around with and still be educated and stuff.
On Monday morning, the school will never be the same again.
So something that you notice there is those students were definitely confident and definitely had that ownership in not only rollout, but just the process and the opportunity that they are given through this grant. We also have what we're calling, the students created this name. It is called the HTTP Squad, which stands for Harris Tech Team Power Squad. And currently it is 25 students, both 7th and 8th grade. And they have a big portion of not only rollout, but just really helping us all come along in the process that we're going to go through and the learning that needs to happen in order for us to be using technology in a powerful way. So now we're going to come to just the beginnings of our little challenge. So one challenge is we want to become a team and have that parent piece and the school piece that we need in order to help our students start realizing how they can be responsible with this tool. So one area that you may have already heard from your students that they're receiving instruction in is digital citizenship. So in digital citizenship, it really basically is how students interact digitally. A lot of times when you hear people talk about digital citizenship, they will refer to social media, so tools that you might see here, like Pinterest, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, some messaging, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Google+, and just any other technology-based tools that your students may be using. And you'll see acronyms like this one. This seems to be the most popular one. And it's just for the students to kind of reflect on what it is that they're posting on the internet. So knowing, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? And is it kind? And really, if a student reflects on those 5 questions, there's a good chance if you're saying no to any one of those questions, it might be something that you need to maybe not post or send out in a text. So currently here on campus, we have been teaching digital citizenship lessons from a company called Common Sense Media. What is great about this company is it is free. So we are teaching lessons from these 8 areas in all grades. We will specifically be certifying students in 5th through 8th grade prior to rollout. What's an awesome thing about Common Sense Media is not only do they have resources for teachers, but they also have a entire parent section. And so you see here are just some of the topics that in the parent concerns that they'll have articles or videos that a parent can watch just to help them think about how it is to parent a student at this time and age where sometimes our students are doing things that we definitely did not grow up using. And so just thinking about when my child is specifically screen time, how much is too much, how much is appropriate, possibly technology addictions, cyberbullying, privacy, Facebook, cell phone parenting. As you can see here, that list goes on, and there's just a ton of resources available for parents. And so all of these are tools that are right now helping us think about those 3 questions that I mentioned earlier. How is it that the classroom is going to change when we have that one-to-one anytime access? And how is it that the students' home lives will change when they have that anytime, always access? And just along the lines of having that tool, what are just other important things to consider during this shift? And at this point in parent session 1, we opened it up for questions that parents may have. So I'm just going to briefly discuss a couple of the questions that were brought up because I'm thinking they may be questions that you're also considering. So a big one was, will there be any kind of usage fee? And the answer is no. Currently, we are able to provide the iPad like we would a library book. It will be checked out to your student, and as long as they are a Harris Elementary student, they will have full access to that iPad. Another question that others came up with was, will it be monitored? And the answer is yes. We have a management system at the district level that will be filtering websites, and also we are able to control what apps are on the devices and some settings of the device. If you have questions that you are not getting answered at the end of this video, feel free to have the office staff find myself or one of the administrators. So my name is Vanessa Zurita, and I'm the Digital Promise Learning Coach here at Harris. And you could also speak with our principal, Miss Aguirre, or our assistant principal, Miss Wingfield. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump into parent night number 2 so you can kind of experience what some of that session had in it. And it was just a quick reminder about saving the date for October 29th, 9 to 1 for that rollout celebration for your student to receive their iPad. Quick video that does come from Common Sense Media, and as you watch this video, a question to consider is, what role does media and technology play in our students' development?
There's nothing more fascinating than watching a child grow and learn. Early development is a time of incredible discovery and curiosity. And as a dad of 2 daughters, I know that if you blink, you've missed something. Not only do kids undergo incredible physical growth, but their brains change dramatically too, forming new connections and rewiring repeatedly throughout childhood.
Depending on your child's age, you're probably keeping an eye out for milestones around things like gross and fine motor skills, speech and language development, cognitive development, and social skills. Kids of all ages need a variety of experiences and personal connections to grow. But what about media and technology? What role should they play in the kids' development? That's an important question for parents to consider.
Think about the TV shows and personalities that made an impression on you as a kid. The musical Muppets of Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers and his classic questions, or the catchy lyrics of Schoolhouse Rock. These pioneering programs recognize the importance of actively engaging the viewer. But today, screen time goes way beyond just television. Mobile devices give kids 24/7 access to media, and not everything out there is educational. That said, media and technology can support your child's growth when used wisely and integrated thoughtfully.
21st century learning is not about what to learn, but rather how to learn. In encouraging lifelong learning, many educators categorize these skills into what they call the 4 C's: communication, critical thinking, collaboration, and creativity. There are tons of ways to explore and connect with the world around us, and today's kids can learn teamwork skills and make connections outside their immediate circle. They can work and play together in innovative ways. They can become an author, a musician, even an artist, all with a click of a button. And they can share their work literally across the world.
While games and apps shouldn't be considered replacements for old school activities, some of them can get kids off the couch and moving their bodies. Digital devices can also enhance learning with visuals and audio support.
Adaptive technology can support learners with particular needs by allowing for targeted, individualized learning.
And besides the fundamentals of the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s, media can highlight positive social interactions, like cooperation, or how to identify and express emotions.
And finally, some games can even help kids with problem solving, reasoning, and even logic.
Our children are digital natives. They'll never know a world without screens. So how can we best prepare them for a media-filled world, whether in school or in life? How can we help them harness the power and potential of technology? The key is a healthy relationship with media.
So it's never too early for parents to consider the following questions. When do I introduce media and devices? What's the right balance of screen time and non-media activities? Where can I find age-appropriate and high-quality content? And how can I teach digital literacy skills and digital citizenship?
Remember, you're the expert. You're the best model and teacher for your child. And you don't want screen time to replace real face-to-face interactions. So get creative, have fun, and find ways to enhance your relationship with your kids by exploring, discovering, and learning together. And if you need us, we're here to help.
So as you can see, based on that video, a big piece is really that our students are digital natives, and technology is going to be a part of what they do day to day, and in how much of the technology they're using, and just what technology choices of use they are making. We know that for many of us, these tools are new and we didn't grow up using them. But just being open to learning with your student and showing that you're willing to go through this process with them, and help them understand how technology can be used in a powerful and meaningful way for them. So during session 2, we discussed 2 things. One, of the family media agreement, which comes from Common Sense Media, and then again we just gave questions. The family media agreement is a agreement that is made by Common Sense Media. You will have an opportunity to sign this with your child. Your child's teacher will be discussing the family media agreement just so that the students are aware of that you've received this information. And what we're going to do here is you may if you would like an additional copy after you've signed yours, we highly encourage you to take that family media agreement home and just kind of view it. And when you see that example, you'll see that there is some blank lines underneath each section. And really those lines are for you to add any other rules or just things that you know that when you have this tool in your home, or potentially already using computers or cell phones that you already have, what are some things that you're going to want to discuss with your student and how you want to manage this in your home? So this family media agreement is broken into 3 sections. The first section is staying safe. And you will see these 3 areas discussed in that first section. So we're going to go through each one just briefly. So one of them here is I will not create accounts or give out any private information. So as you see here from this graphic, here's a person and they're typing on the internet and there's someone else on the other side. And for our students, for whatever reason, this is a difficult concept to sometimes understand, that although they are posting and seeing it on a screen, there really is someone on the other side that can see the things that they're doing, and it may not be someone they want to see. So we're going to discourage students and to not post private information like their full name, school names, parents' names, cell phone numbers, house numbers, address, any of that information that can, fall into hands that potentially are not safe for our students. So this is a little different than, when they're first younger and you tell them don't talk to the stranger danger. It's a little easier for them because they can see, oh, that's a stranger, I don't know them. But on the screen, it's a little different because you don't see who the stranger is. The next section in staying safe is that the students won't share passwords with anyone other than their family. Another suggestion that was offered during this section for Common Sense Media is looking at your students' privacy settings. So oftentimes in different tools or apps that your students may be using, you'll see this little wheel here, and that is usually where you can find some settings. And it's just a good idea to kind of look through those with your child and make sure that they're set to enough privacy that not just anyone can read whatever it is that they're posting. And as for passwords, please I highly recommend that you have your student's password. The school will be providing them with various accounts to use for learning, one being a district Gmail account. You are more than welcome to have that password and log in to your student's Gmail from time to time and find out what emails are going through there. Once they have the iPad, I encourage you looking at their email daily, if not daily, at least a couple times a week, so that your students know at any time you can look at their iPad and see what mail is coming in and out, or any other accounts that they may have. And if your student already has a cell phone, I encourage you to do the same thing. Look at those cell phones, look at those apps and different social media pieces that they're using, and look at their settings and just check their password and be able to have that open device kind of policy that you monitor what your students are doing on their device. All right, and this next section for staying safe is just that if anyone makes them feel pressured or uncomfortable or acts inappropriately towards them, that they come to an adult. If it's happening at school, they could come to any teacher that they feel comfortable with, an administrator, any assistants we have on campus, and then also that they let you know that they've felt uncomfortable in a technology-based situation. And just having that open conversation with your child that there's going to be no negative consequence for coming to an adult and saying, I didn't feel comfortable with this situation. We want to make sure that our students are safe when they're using their technology. And just as you see in this picture, it's really a cell phone that's being used. Digital citizenship type incidents happen already on our campus weekly. Our principals are constantly intervening on different text or messages or videos that are posted on student accounts. So although your student may not have the iPad yet, these are things that are already going on. So it's a good idea to have those conversations sooner than later. All right, the next section in the Family Media Agreement is called Think First. And during that section, we're going to be talking about three bullets. So the first one is a commitment for the child to not bully, humiliate, or upset anyone online. With my phone, and it's ... any tool that can connect to the internet or basically connect to anyone, for example, a text. And again, like what was mentioned in session 1, is that this is a good little acronym for the students to start internalizing. Just remembering that before they use any type of technology as an interaction with another, that they ask themselves, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? And is it kind? And if you can't say yes to all of them, it's probably not a good idea to post. And really here, this other graphic just kind of shows sometimes the students don't realize that the comments that they are making are impacting another one on the other side. And sometimes because they don't get to see how it impacted the person on the other side, it almost makes it a little easier, and students are almost desensitized to what it is that they're doing with the technology. Okay, the next section is knowing that whatever they share online or with their cell phone via text, for example, can spread fast and far. So, in the past, gossip could just be spread the good old fashioned way from one person to another. And yeah, we know that this kind of spread quickly, but nowadays, with the technology being what it is, it spreads at a much faster pace. And one area we want to start making our students aware of sooner than later is the fact that they have what's called a digital footprint. So, in regards to texting or any of these types of tools that most students already are using to some level, they're leaving what's called a digital footprint. So, they leave something behind that months, days, years, pretty much forever later, people will be able to look up their names and find out some of the things that they were posting. So we really want to start teaching our students at a young age to be responsible about what they post online and realize that it can go far quickly and you might be representing yourself in a way that is not really you. And the next section in Think First is that whenever they use a reference or share someone else's creativity or work online, that they're going to give that person credit. So through this opportunity, students will be able to help each other peer edit writing examples. So they might have access to one of their classmates' papers. Also, with that tool Google, kids can search the different papers or other examples of other people's work that's very similar to an assignment they may have. And we just want students to realize that copying from digital text is copying, and it's basically like this little character here. You're basically stealing someone else's ideas and designs. So that's not going to be acceptable, and we're going to be teaching our students how it is that they reference or give credit to whoever's work that they use. The last section in the Family Media Agreement that we addressed during session 2 is staying balanced. So in this section, it's for us to bring an awareness to our students that not everything that they read, hear, or see online is true, and that they really need to start looking at websites or digital pieces as a detective and analyze them closely and think about who is it that's posting this, and is it a reputable corporation or person, because the internet is a place where anybody can publish and you never know if it is something that's reputable. This little graphic here is almost a little joke. So we know that technology did not exist when Abraham Lincoln was the president of the United States of America, and he himself here is saying, don't believe everything you read on the internet. So that's just another example. We know it is impossible for him to have said this, but I found this image right on the internet, almost as a little humor here, showing that, you can say someone said something and it may not necessarily be true. And for whatever reason, our students sometimes struggle with that. They say, well, I saw it online, so since I saw it, it must be true. And so they confuse seeing something with giving it that true look and making sure that it's true. The next two pieces of staying balanced is that I will help my family set media time limits that make sense, and then I will follow them. The next bullet says, I will be mindful of how much time I spend in front of a screen, and I will continue to kind of have that conversation with kids. So we really want to help them with screen times and time limits. So you might sit down as a family and determine how much time is appropriate. We want our students to obviously be using that technology in a powerful way, but we also don't want to deprive them of any of the things that, are not technology based, like playing outside or coloring or just, using a pencil and paper and those type of things. Just something to consider as you do have this conversation with your child, knowing that when they're on their cell phone, that's a screen time. When they're watching TV, that's a screen time. When they're on different social media aspects, those are all screen time. Playing video games. And just making sure that you are comfortable and you're helping your child set limits for how much is appropriate. And the last section at the bottom of this family media agreement is just 3 recommended pieces for the families to kind of agree with and kind of discuss with their student. So one, recognizing that media is a big part of their life, even if they don't always understand why. So for us as adults to realize that they are digital natives and this is the norm for them, and we may not understand it, but we're going to be open to having those conversations and learning alongside them and supporting them along the way. Another thing is that they're going to talk, that we as adults are going to talk with them about what worries them, why, and why, before saying no. So really we're going to be, before we say no to something that they're using, we're going to have that conversation with our child and just say what it is that concerns us and set those boundaries. So it could be something we potentially allow them to, or maybe revisit at a time when we feel more comfortable with whatever it is that they're asking to do in regards to technology. And the last one is really that piece that has the potential with the anytime access to be a life changer for our students. As I mentioned in session one of the reasons that Digital Promise and Verizon are a part of making this grant was that we wanted our students to imagine a future that they may not be imagining right now. So one of the things is we're hoping that you can agree to is to talking with your student and finding out what are their interests and things that they enjoy in their world, and that as families you kind of discuss like things that are interesting to them and help them find media that's appropriate and fun. So they may have an interest. One of our students in our HTTP squad loves photography, and so he shared with me that his parents bought him a GoPro, which is a type of camera that really allows for a lot of video making and picture taking and some other tools, and he loves to edit video. Now for him that's an interest, and so for in that example it would be really powerful for his parents to help him find possibly some websites that he can read about editing or taking photos, and possibly even having the opportunity to connect with another videographer or a photographer that could give him some tools and tips. So not only do we want the devices to be used for homework and the assignments that the teachers gives, but we really wanted to open the interest for the students and for them to be able to personalize their learning by thinking about the things that they are interested in and finding a way to connect to those resources. At this point in the session, we offered some more opportunity for Q&A. Again, like I mentioned before, if you have any questions, I would just jot them down, and at the end of the video, you can ask to speak with myself, Vanessa Zurita, Miss Aguirre, or Miss Wingfield. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and jump into parent night number 3. And during this section, 3 things were discussed. 1, a little more on digital citizenship. 2, soaring with iPads. And 3, again, we gave that opportunity for questions. So again, many of the resources that we're using here on campus, especially for digital citizenship, come from this company, Common Sense Media. They've designed a curriculum that address these 8 areas. It's made up of 65 grade differentiated lessons. So we currently are using all of their lessons, kindergarten through 8th grade. We have made a plan to make sure that all of our students who potentially did not receive the lessons prior to their grade level are receiving them now. And these lessons were written with Dr. Howard Gardner and some of these other places here, the Harvard Graduate School of Education. So they've definitely have some thought and planning behind them. It's all of these videos that I'm showing you are coming from there. So we're going to watch another video. What's nice about this video is it's another who also did something similar to us, where students were getting one-to-one devices. So it's kind of, we get some lessons learned. So here we go.
So when we started our iPad program, we focused on this is how you use the device, this is how you use apps, this is how you keep it in a case and keep it away from dangerous things. But we realized going in that more important than that is really how do you need to think about using it. So when you're doing that, when you have all this instant access to communicating to people, posting things on the web, researching, what are the processes that need to be internalized in order to be good, do well?
We want them to learn how to be responsible digital citizens at an age where they're young enough where it can become a habit of mind. So when they do enter high school, they've already internalized this. And I think if they can do that, then they're going to be much less likely to make some of the larger mistakes that some high school students can make, because they've had an opportunity in some ways to make those smaller mistakes and learn from them.
Ideally, digital citizenship is woven through your social emotional curriculum. If students are talking about how we communicate and have friends, then that's an easy carryover too. Same thing is true online. We have to respect each other's feelings, have empathy for the other person, and think about how the other person would interpret what we're saying.
So I expect whatever we say and how we act and treat each other within the classroom, verbally, face to face, is how you would behave and write on a computer, on a telephone, or anything. It's the same. There's the same expectations.
We want them to internalize the thought process. You know, I'm going down this road and I probably shouldn't be. What do I need to think about? What are the consequences that could come out just from what I know, rather than waiting for an adult to say, that's bad, I'm taking your device. That's one thing that struck me, the waiting for consequences. And if you have a whole group of students waiting for consequences, they're feeding off each other. They're all saying, we're not getting caught, you know, we can do this, it's okay.
If you're using an iPad or you're using a paper and pencil, either way, the process involves failing and allowing that to happen, and then encouraging self-reflection and making that part of the process.
If you get that feeling in your stomach that something's going on wrong, that's your sign, that's your bell to immediately go tell an adult, anybody, a teacher, a parent. If you bump into something on the internet that you're not sure about or don't understand, that's when you go to an adult and talk about it. And I reassure my students, I said, you will never, ever get in trouble for showing this to your parent or to a teacher, because that's what we're here for.
This one-to-one opportunity that this group of educators had, we can see here that they obviously learned that teaching those students how to internalize how they interact with digital tools was much more important than just how to use the device. And also just really hitting on that we need to have those open conversations with our students, and that they need to know that they can come to adults when they have these questions, and that we're going to support them along the way. So as I mentioned in section 2, just realizing that, again, they have a digital footprint and what they're putting behind, and really being thoughtful and mindful of what those posts and videos and photos and comments that we leave out there are things that we feel proud of how they represent us, and that we are safely using those. And again, if they're interacting with peers or adults at this point, anytime that they're interacting, that they want to start internalizing this process where we use this acronym so much that the students just automatically start thinking about, okay, I'm about to write this post, I'm about to make this video. Is what I'm posting true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Is it kind? And for the students to internalize, if I can't say yes about all these things, then I need to stop and really think about, is this something I want to post? Because it will become part of my digital footprint, and will I be proud of it later? And all of these are things that we need to be discussing with our students. So we're doing that here at school and through our digital citizenship lessons and through just ongoing support as our students are using technology. But we really need you to partner with us and do the same at home. As I mentioned in one of the prior sessions, we will have a filtering system, but it is impossible to have a filtering system that truly catches everything. So the best filters are going to be the adults. So here at school, we will be monitoring and asking questions and looking at what our students are looking at on the internet and just the different assignments that they post and how they're interacting with each other. But we highly, highly encourage for you to do the same at home. Ask for your student's iPad and say, show me some of your work. So not only is it going to help them academically, but it's really going to help them develop socially and understanding that this is a part of the world that they live in, and these are going to be skills that they need to be successful in the future. All right, so now we're in the section that we are talking about how we will soar with technology on our campus. So you may have seen this type of poster around campus. We are what's called a PBIS school, so it's a program that allows us to encourage positive behaviors. And we often refer to all of our rules on campus. You may see them out on those boards. So S for safety, O for ownership, A to aim high, and R for respect and responsibility. So our students are very familiar with this process. There is a handout that you will receive, and in that handout, it will be referring to the handbook. So we have an English and a Spanish handbook. It's all in one. What we did is we sorted just some of the important things in the handbook that address each of the 4 areas of soaring on our campus. Signing the handbook agreement is part of one of the requirements in order to receive the iPad for the student. We know that there's no way you can read this all here with us at this point. You're welcome to do so if you'd like, but really we're going to hit just some of those very critical pieces that we wanted to make sure parents understood quickly. And then, of course, you're going to be able to keep this handbook and refer to it at any time or ask questions whenever they may arise. So if you're looking at the SOAR document that was given to you, we're going to kind of discuss some of those things. So on page 4 of the handbook, you will see it will talk about the equipment that students receive. So 1, they will be receiving an iPad. They'll receive a charging cord, a lightning cable, and a little power box. They also will receive a Verizon case that will need to be left on the iPad at all times. One of the things that we've learned from other schools similar to ours is that we need to make sure that these cords are the only cord that is being used when students are charging their iPad. What some schools are finding is that if you go, to the dollar store or Walgreens, or maybe you order online another no-name brand type of cord or cable box, is that they are finding that they sometimes will give the iPad some type of virus or just have it lose some of its function. So please make sure that the only power cord and cable box or charger box that you're using are the ones that are provided that are directly from Apple. On page 5, we start talking about how to be safe with it. So one of the things for safety of the device and safety of our students is that the iPads will need to be tucked away at all times, specifically in public places. So students are going to need to have their iPad in their backpacks, so they won't even be walking around with them around on campus. There will be some designated safe places, but we will be communicating that to students. And then just knowing that as they're out and about on campus, or even just in the neighborhood, or possibly taking the city bus or those type of things, that they're not going to have their iPad out for everyone to see. It's going to be something that they keep in their bag and only take out in those places where it's a good idea to take it. So in pages 6 and 10, some of the things that you'll see discussed there is that we're not going to share usernames and passwords with anyone. And like I mentioned in session 2, you as parents by all means should have the password to the various accounts that your students have. So you don't apply to this rule, but definitely they don't want to be sharing usernames or passwords with their friends, with anybody but you. All right, and the next piece is, if you look at page 7, just referring to that the device will be used for educational purposes here on campus. So on campus, we will be using them for learning. Again, you can be using it, continue to use it for learning with possibly finishing homework assignments or different things that are assigned to them at school. And then also those interests that we had discussed in session 2, where you consider what it is that your student may potentially want to learn more about and that they are using it for those devices. On page 7, 8, and 11, you will hear a lot about charging. So again, that we're only using the charging cable provided, but apps and Wi-Fi and all the different Google Classroom and all the different tools that we'll be using on campus can really be draining on a device's battery. So it's really going to be important that the students make sure that every night they are charging their batteries fully. And when they do charge, you as parents can establish a place where iPads are charged. It may not necessarily be in the student's room. You may say, at this time at night, maybe I'm okay with 9:30. At 9:30 at night, your iPad goes in the kitchen or the living room, and that's where it's charged. One, so that we're helping them learn that responsibility of making sure that they're charging it daily, and really just knowing that they are using that screen time appropriately. So if we give it time to charge, we're probably not on it. So it really helps establish screen time and responsibility of being prepared for class. Okay, and in section 8 and 10, just a little reminder for the students is that this iPad is checked out to them like a library book. It still belongs to the Cartwright School District. We do have software and systems that are managing those devices and keeping them safe. And we also have the App Store, and they should not be installing apps other than the apps that we provide them with. One, there's not enough space on the iPad. And two, really, we are going through the process of making sure that the tools that are available are of high educational value and are screened for safety. And so they're not going in there and changing settings or hacking it or finding workarounds for different things that they're wanting to do, but they're using it for the use that it was provided for. All right, page 9 really discusses the use of the camera and video. So just like a cell phone or many other mobile devices, these iPads will have a camera, and the camera will be able to take video and photo. So we will be using this for sure in educational purposes. But one of the things is the students need to understand we're not going to just go around campus taking pictures and videos of our teachers, of our students, or even at home without people's permission and without a purpose. So if you at school, we will be saying when it's an appropriate time to take a picture and video. At home, feel free to do the same. And we just ask that as you partner up with us in helping your students become more responsible, that you monitor that you have your students show you where their videos and photos are, and you can see what videos and photos they've taken throughout the day. All right, so page 9 kind of talks about that Not only will it have that photo video, but it does have a microphone. So that is another opportunity for students to use for educational purposes, but we're not going to go around and just record people without them knowing that. All right, page 10 just is really hitting upon that digital citizenship, and that we're going to make sure that when we are using our technology, we're using appropriate language, appropriate work, use your own. So really just making sure that they are not just, borrowing people's work and claiming it as theirs. And then just making sure that they're thinking about the things that they post and making sure that it would be something that they could be proud of for a very long time, because we know anything we post becomes a part of our digital footprint. And then just for safety, on page 10, it talks about sharing. So don't share everything. Knowing not to share cell phone numbers, not to share locations, and those type of things. So we want our students to be safe and to use it in a powerful way. So we want to make sure that we're having conversations with them in regards to being careful and mindful of what it is that they're posting. And if they're not sure, it's definitely something to ask before posting. And another piece that continues to hit upon that digital citizenship is the golden rule. So treat others the way you want to be treated. And in this, I would add treat others the way you would treat them in person. So sometimes you will see that students interact a little differently with technology because you don't see the person's reactions and the um, consequences that and the effects that come from the different things that you do. So we want to make sure that our students are starting to internalize that we treat others the way we want to be treated, both face to face and digitally. All right. And just that we are going to be using technology here for educational purposes, and that we're going to be monitoring. We're going to be able to see what you're on at school. It is not, you are not protected, it's not private. We would be able to access your passcode. We can look at the things on your iPad, and you as well as parents need to know that although this is something for their school, you are of course welcome to open up their iPad and look at what they're posting, look at their assignments, and we're hoping that this really helps them just improve in their academics, but also being aware that it is something for you to monitor and watch. And again with the grades, so that's still talking about monitoring and looking at it. So one of the tools that we'll be using as a campus is Google Classroom. So our students are provided with a school Gmail, and with that each teacher is setting up potentially at minimum one Google Classroom, but there is a potential to set up more than one Google Classroom if they do one by subject area, or if your students in 7th and 8th grade, most likely they will have one per teacher. And so in here, you as a parent will have the opportunity to see your students' grades and what assignments they have and homework. So of course, this is another parent communication piece. Ask to see it. If they say they're done with their homework, say, okay, well, show me it. And you can see that feedback from the teachers, and you can jump on there and give them some feedback as well. All right, in regards to email, we are asking that the only email that is set up through the iPad is the student's email that we provide them through the Cartwright School District. That two reasons. One, this is open to school. Since it belongs to the school, there's a piece of where we can check the devices, and we wouldn't want the parents' emails being in there, and we as a school can see what's in your email. Or if an aunt or uncle or someone borrows their iPad, we don't want to see other people's private information through their email. If you do choose to use the device to check your email or possibly send an email to your child's teacher, we just ask that you go through the Safari browser and that you sign in and sign out, but that you do not set up an additional email directly to the iPad besides the one that's provided to the student. Page 12 starts discussing if they are broken or damaged. So really what is going to be the procedure for that is you'll want to communicate to the office as soon as possible if your device has damage. We will have a very small amount of iPads available for checkout if yours is damaged. These checkout iPads would not be allowed to be taken home, so the students would get behind. So really we want to encourage our students to be careful and just use them appropriately to save the damage and the loss of time with their iPad. And just if it is broken, that they report it to school as soon as possible. So if it happens over the weekend, Monday morning, that should be something that's being reported to the front office. Along the same lines, if it is lost, we ask that you also lost or /stolen, that you also report that to the office. And before your student would be able to receive another iPad, a police report number would need to be provided. All right, so at this point, we're pretty much wrapping it up. So on October 29th, your child will have a fast pass. And today you will, after this video, will actually get your child's folder where you will actually be able to address many of these requirements. So right now, you all will be getting that stamp in session 1, 2, and 3 by watching this video. There is a red sheet of paper that is the CSD handbook. And you may have already signed the handbook. If you're not sure, we highly encourage you just to re-sign this paper. There is a digital promise memo of understanding. And then there's the family media agreement that we discussed. There's 2 components for the handbook. Becoming digitally citizen certified is actually going to be addressed in school. If your child is new and it's past October 29th, we will actually have them go through this process with a member of our student tech team. If this is happening before October 29th, being certified will happen in class. There's an iPad tracking info, and then the rest of these will be available during rollout. Again, if your child is new to our campus and it's after October 29th, this will happen after they're digitally certified with a member of our student tech team. Again, I want to thank you for your time, and please feel free to come out and look for me if you have any more questions. Thank you.